Hello friends, Kishan is here again and welcome you in this video tutorial. In this video tutorial, we are going to talk about the Hibernate dirty checking concept. Dirty checking is a concept to avoid time-consuming database write actions. By this concept, all necessary updating and changes are done without affecting the other fields. Only the changed fields of database are updated and the remaining unchanged fields are left untouched. Hibernate allows dirty checking feature. It saves developers time and effort in updating of database when states of objects are modified inside a transaction. Hibernate automatically detects the object's states whenever changed and synchronized with the database in order to update. So here we are going to look example how dirty checking works in Hibernate. So to make this demo, I have already created a project. It's called Hibernate dirty checking. If you would have watched my previous video tutorial Hibernate CRUD example, then a lot of files I have taken from this example itself. So here let me show you in pom.xml. I have added mainly in dependencies section. I have added dependency for MySQL and second dependency for Hibernate, and I have given the version as 5.2.11. That's the latest version of Hibernate. Now we have a utility class who is responsible to create the session factory in Hibernate, right? So this class we had created from scratch in the beginning itself, right? So if you did not watch my video, there I have shown how to create the session factory in Hibernate 5, then please go and watch, right? So here basically we have a utility class which returns session factory, which gets created in the static block itself. Client has to call this method by class name itself, because this is a static method, and client will get the session factory. Now we have an entity class employee, which is binded with the employee table, and how to design this entity class from scratch we have already seen in the past video tutorial, right? So if you did not watch those videos, then I request you to go and watch those videos as well. Now let me close all files. Now we have a first entity class there. Here I am not using try with resources, right? So here explicitly, if you are not using try with resources, your session you are declaring outside of a try, then as a developer that's your responsibility to close the session in the finally block, right? And here I have one. So here you can see Hibernate tutorial. I have called the get session factory, and just we are taking one session by calling the open session, right? And we are calling this private method create employee, right, by passing this session. So using this session we have begin the transaction. We are trying to save entity by so this is our private method, which basically returns the employee object, and just we are trying to save into the database. And save method basically returns the identifier or primary key, and that just we are printing a message employee is created with this ID, and just we are committing the transaction so that permanent change will happen on the database side. So here if you look into the Hibernate cfg.xml file, this is also we have written from the scratch in past video. If you did not watch, then go and watch. So this basically holds the all database information, right, as well as Hibernate specific some property, and here we have listed our entity class as well, right? So all entity class you will have to register something like this. So here as of now we have only one entity class, so that I have registered. Now when I run this application, so here configuration file you can see our database name is test. So if you go over here, and here currently we have one record, so let's delete this table. So I'm going to drop this table and nothing in the database. Now I'm allowing to Hibernate to create a database table for us by specifying the hvm2ddl auto update, right? So here I'm going to run this program, and this will create a table for us, and that will insert a single record into the database, right? So if you look into the console, then see table has been created. Now table is altered to add unique content on the email column, and finally one is record is is inserted, saying that one employee is created with ID 1. And if we go and refresh, then one we have you can see the table and one record is inserted. Now that's all about these things. Already we have seen in the past video, right, how to create a record into the database using save operation. Right, now come back to the concept which we would like to discuss in this video, and that is dirty checking concept. So here I have declared session outside of the try so that we can access inside the finally block and we can close it. Now from this session we can begin the from session we can make a call to a get method, right? So basically session is having method a get, and here you will have to pass the entity, and that is employee. And here I am passing, as of now we have only one record, right, which we have created by executing this client program, right? Now here I am going to check if employee not equal to null. That means employee exists with the ID 1, right? And I go inside, I begin the transaction, right? So here my intention is to update the employee information. So right, if that is not null, then we should begin the transaction, else no need to begin the transaction, right? Now session is having method called get transaction, so you can get the existing transaction and commit it. So this is our transaction boundary, and basically we are starting transaction here and committing transaction here. And here between this, what I'll do, I'm going to modify the state of object. Right here I'm going to modify salary. So salary value I'm going to add new. So current salary is 50,000, so let's make it 60,000, right? And here in session is having method is called update, right? So as we did update operation in the previous video tutorial, right, we modify the entity. We first get the entity from the database, and if we find that is not null, that means we make sure that this entity exists with the ID 1. So we go inside the if block, and we begin the transaction. We change the state of entity. So here we are just changing the salary, but you are free to change. You are free to change any value as well. Now just we are calling update method on it and try to commit the transaction. And if this employee does not exist, then we will have to prompt some message, right? So something like employee doesn't exist with provided ID. Right, so simple message. So this is gonna work perfectly fine. Let me run this and you'll see Hibernate first will fire select query because of this line of code, and whenever Hibernate is realizes, okay, you have made changes, you have changed its status, state of this object, means salary you are going to change, and this changes happens between the transaction boundaries itself, right? So this will fire the update query as well, and you can see first select query and second update query on the salary, right? So this is triggering a update query on the salary because salary has been changed only. And if you here we have a specified @ dynamic update. If you do not specify this annotation, then Hibernate is going to fire update query on all the columns except primary key. So basically that's override the value itself, right? That will get the value and same value will be written into the database, and a property which has been changed, and that's also written in the database. So to optimize that query, so basically you will have to apply the @ dynamic update. So in that case, whatever value is changing, that gets included in the set clause, right? So that's the meaning of that annotation. Now if I go and check my database, then this was supposed to be 60,000, now it's become the 60,000. Now some strange thing I'm going to show you that is related to the dirty checking itself. So here basically we are calling this update method explicitly. So here I'm going to comment it, right? And now one more thing, if I run this same program right? So at this time Hibernate is not going to fire the update query. So let's see over here. So only select query. Why so happen? Because when you to perform update operation, first of all you will have to select that entity, right? So we have selected by its ID, and we are not changing a state of this object, right? A state of object is still same, right? Salary is 60,000 still, and you are setting 60,000. So basically when you perform the get operation, then Hibernate what does, basically this state gets saved into the session cache, right, while selecting, and you are trying to set the same value, which salary value, which is already in the database, and when you try to update before triggering the update, before firing the update query, Hibernate will check a state which you got from the database and a state which you are sending to update, both are same, then Hibernate is not gonna trigger a update query. That's the concept, and this happens because of the session cache. Now second thing, now this one I'm going to comment, and salary I'm going to update as 55,000. Now let's see what happens, and this state I'm changing within the transaction boundary itself. So even though you do not call the update method explicitly, is still Hibernate will be managed to call the update query. We can see over here, and that's the concept is called dirty checking. So if you are making, if you are changing a state of object, entity object within the transaction boundary, and even though you are not calling the update method, still Hibernate will keep checking the state of this object, right? Once you trigger the commit, after that if you make any change, then that change is getting affected or not. Let's check it out. So here let's make the salary again 70,000, and here I'm committing the transaction. After committing the transaction, I'm trying to make change anything like name. So current name of that employee is Martin Bingle, so I would say name also I'm going to modify Martin Bingle 2, and let's see. Now Hibernate has included only salary, right? Because current salary is 60,000, and now we are trying to set 70,000, but and we also try to change the name, but this name we are trying to change after the commit. That's why Hibernate did not take account into this, right? So if you make any changes in this persistent object after committing the transaction, that is going to ignore by the Hibernate. So these are the things you will have to keep in mind. Now here we have, let's make the salary again 40,000, and we'll make change, will change a name as well, right? And we are not calling the update, right? So at this time we are expecting Hibernate should update salary as well as name, right? Because name also we are changing within the transaction boundary, right? When I say transaction boundary, means starting the transaction and completing the transaction. Between that, whatever you are doing, that's the consider inside the transaction boundary itself. Now if I run, then Hibernate is going to fire update query, right? First select and then update, and in update query Hibernate is going to include two columns, right? Salary as well as employee name. Now you can see employee name and employee salary has been included. If I go and refresh, then name as well as salary will be updated, right? So name and salary is updated, right? So that's all about the dirty concept. So still we know that whatever state we are changing over here, Hibernate within the transaction boundary, Hibernate will detect all changes, and that will trigger the update method, or that changes will be synchronized with the database. Still we should always call the update method, right? So this and this is more readable or manageable code. That's the reason I'm telling you, right? Now if I run this application, then Hibernate is not gonna fire the update query, right? Because same state we are sending to the same state we are trying to update, which is already present in the database. So you can see there is no update query has been fired. So that's all I wanted to cover in this video tutorial, guys. I hope you enjoyed learning this video. This code you'll get on the GitHub, and GitHub location you can get in the video description part itself. So thanks for watching this video and see you next video tutorial.